even in a recession in 2008, certain areas were recession proof. Texas had a booming economy. When you have the White House coming out on national news stations saying housing prices are now going to be more affordable, that doesn't make sense to me from the buyer side. What's up, everyone? I'm Nick Campo. This is Drew Alexander. We are the Lone Guys Podcast. Ben is taking, Ben will be back Friday, just like every Friday. So this is our Building Wealth Through Real Estate podcast, where we have people on who've built wealth through real estate. We have realtors, we have investors, we have people who can give our viewers some advice. Before we get started, do me a favor, go ahead and bang the red subscribe button, turn on the notifications. That way you know anytime we post a video. So without further ado, Drew.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people where they can find you, what your social medias are, things of that nature.
Yeah. So Drew Alexander, you find me selling anywhere between Asheville and Charlotte. I'm a realtor out there. You can find me at Drew Sold My Home out on Instagram, or you can always give me a call, 828-335-1772. You know what to do. Just pick up the phone and call Drew.
Hell yeah. I love that catchphrase. That's what I love that catchphrase. So, we met via telephone, and I think we hit it off. You're doing a lot of commercial real estate.
There's mostly residential, but a lot of my clients that we started with doing investment properties have branched out further and further.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So are they doing more like DSCR type of commercial, or are they doing like commercial buildings, land development?
So DSCR has been one thing we've been rolling into more. And then of course, I have a lot of clients that are rolling into the spec route too, but now it's been a lot of flipping,
right.
Just market demand in the Asheville area is affordability.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lack of it. If you know Asheville market, it's expensive. Average home sales are $500,000 plus.
Right.
And it's a service-based industry there. So trying to find something that you can actually afford, it can get pretty tough. So we're just trying to supply the demand there with the investors I work with.
Lots of like second homes, vacation homes.
Yeah, second homes, and then a lot of people moving from other areas in the country. So New York, Washington, California, Colorado, where there's a little bit more money.
Right.
And then coming here and they have more cash to put down on homes. And we're even seeing it in the rural areas like Tryon. Tryon down the foothills.
Yeah.
There were, I think it was 11 homes in the last 6 months sold above $1 million, and 8 of them were purchased with cash.
Oh, wow.
So it's crazy for little Tryon.
That's crazy.
Yep. And that's the kind of money that's been rolling in there, and it's pushing a lot of these people out.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's great from a business perspective. Obviously, for real estate, there's a lot of movement there. However, it's really difficult for your first-time home buyers, or again, those people in that service-based industry.
Right.
So, but that's where we come into play with my investors I work with, where we're trying to build that affordability, trying to house that demand with specs or flips, whatever it may be.
So to get to that affordability, are you looking at trying to get more stuff on the market, or are you working with like first-time home buyer programs? Like, talk a little bit about that, because one of the things, listen, I love making money in real estate. Absolutely, I love the fact that housing pricing, goes up. It's
a lot of people, a good problem to have,
right? A lot of people don't like to hear that, but the one thing that does always concern me, and I didn't think about it until you brought up all the people moving from other places. So, you have a lot of people, you said New York, whether it's Colorado, California, housing prices are sky high there, right? And so typically what you see is you'll see a migration. And when they move, if they sell a property, they can almost purchase properties here with cash, even if it's $1 million, because $1 million home here, they're getting a mansion a lot of times compared to what they had. Like, I know $1 million homes in Long Island. I'm from New York, originally upstate. And $1 million home in Long Island might be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2,200 square foot home.
Right.
You come here, $1 million home is 6,000 square feet,
Yep.
7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms.
You nailed it.
Yeah. So and they're buying them with cash. But the one concern I have is the locals who have been here, who have worked the land, been here forever, right? Maybe generations of family.
Yeah.
In a lot of the rural areas, farmers, things of that nature, who aren't seeing huge bumps in income, or service industry, like you mentioned. What can we do to make it so that they don't have to migrate to a less expensive area?
So that's actually a good question. There's an investor that I've been talking to quite a bit lately about doing actually affordable developments. If you look at what's mostly in the area, I mean, it's everywhere too, not just Asheville, but what's being built a lot of times are these big bloated homes. Right, you see them everywhere. They're all up and down Route 26 when you're going into Asheville. These big, bloated 2,000 plus square foot homes that are selling $400,000 or $500,000, builder grade materials, just quick sales. What we've been talking about with this particular investor is, the more conservative on size route. So like 1,100 square foot, 1,200, 13, even 1,400 square foot homes, 3-bed, 2-bath, decent little yard, something that, these renters, because it's such a heavy rental area in Asheville, these renters can actually have home ownership. And as you know, the majority of wealth is built in home ownership.
For sure.
I mean, most people's money is tied up into a home. And if you don't have a home, a renter's net worth, I think last time I checked was like an average of $5,000.
That's bad. So I was looking at a statistic to touch on that, and it was at the age of 65, a homeowner has 70% higher net worth than a homeowner. And we actually do a rent versus buy comparison. It reminds me of one of the clients that you referred to me who rents out the cars and such. I actually was thinking about him on the way to work today because I'm going to send him a rent versus buy. And the reason I'm going to do that is he has a good business model with what he's doing, but I think he can add to that from a long-term standpoint. And one of the things that I try to coach every client, every investor, every person just every renter, every first-time home buyer, you want to coach people up and let them know, like, hey, your money is protected in housing. Even in 2008 when the market collapsed, guess what? The homes went way below what you bought them for. But if you hung on for 2 years, they were then worth 2 years is all you had to hang on. Yeah. And then they were worth more than what they were. So it's so funny. I was probably thinking about him because I knew you were coming in, but I was like, what can I do to make him realize, like, yeah, you got that good business there, but let's add to it with maybe a property that you own so that you're not spending $2,000 a month on rent. Here's what a rent versus buy would look like. And here's the amount of equity you'll have in 5 years in this market, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you're spot on when it comes to the wealth piece, for sure.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's unfortunate too, because you look at statistics now, a lot of people that are pretty much just giving up on the possibility of buying a home. They're just flat out saying, I'll rent. You look at how many people are like, I'm gonna rent for life, and they're okay with that. And a lot of times I don't think, especially the ones I've had conversations with, they're not taking into account that those rents are fluid with the market. They are not set. So purchasing a home, getting a good solid home, locking it down, having a mortgage rate, that mortgage payment stays the same for 30 years.
Right.
You may have adjustments in insurance and taxes.
But it's typically slight.
Exactly. But rental increases, just look at what happened the last 5 years alone. Right after 2020 too. I mean, just to rent a 2-bedroom home, I've seen 2-bedroom apartments renting for $1,900 or more a month.
That's crazy.
2-bedroom apartment. I mean, having a family in a 2-bedroom apartment is just insane to pay that much. But then I'm selling homes where the mortgages are $1,900 a month for a 4-bedroom, 2 full bathroom, 1+ acre home, 2-car garage, new construction, and that's your mortgage payment with 5% down on a conventional.
It begs the question of, one, why are people giving up on purchasing a home?
Yep.
And then number 2, I tell renters, so $1,900 to rent, take the $1,100 bills that you're having to pay for that and just light them on fire, because you're not even getting a percentage of them back. Granted, when you buy a home, a portion that's going to go to interest, that's the portion you won't get back, but you will make up for that interest through the appreciation of the property, especially here in the Carolinas. And I tell people this nonstop. Even in a recession, certain areas in 2008, certain areas were recession proof. Texas had a booming economy and the housing went up. Well, if something were to happen, which it won't because there's a housing shortage here, so even in a recession, which I hate to burst the bubble on this. We're in a recession.
Yeah.
But even in a recession, there's certain areas of the country that are, one, because of the inventory shortage nationwide, you're not going to see a massive dip in housing prices. And number two, there's certain areas where the housing pricing is going to keep going up. Florida, the Carolinas, Texas. I think that it was the Dakotas maybe, or I think it's the Dakotas. But areas where people are migrating to, and they're migrating to those areas because they're able to, there's more people who are able to remote work now.
Yep.
There's different reasons that cause the migration. But I think a big part of it is, one, affordability, lifestyle, and then just housing prices. Yeah. Why stay in my multi-million-dollar home that I have this huge mortgage on when I can sell this home and buy cash over here?
Yep.
Right? Makes sense.
Yep.
So my theory is, with everything that's going on, and we'll get into NAR a little bit later, but with everything that's going on in the housing market and interest rates, and you keep seeing on the news, it's never been harder to buy a home. Homes are so unaffordable, but what they fail to tell the consumer, and it's like a mass media brainwashing.
Yes.
And it's almost like it's coordinated because they don't want housing prices to spike too much because there is an inventory shortage. So it's like, do you think maybe the Fed or the White House is trying to coordinate this to stop home ownership so that the prices don't skyrocket? But let's look at the reality. I'm a mortgage person, so I do numbers all day. I would argue it's never been easier to buy a house. Down payment assistance, that wasn't there. 3.5% down. We even have a conventional 1% down for first-time home buyers.
It's insane.
Like, we can do a conventional 1% down. The other 2% is a grant given to we have day one equity programs, which means, it's a DPA program, but they don't put a second lien or say there's minimum amount of time. They didn't have that in the 80s. Right?
Yeah.
It was 20% down is what it was.
Yep.
The other piece is we've literally gotten people approved for housing, and I don't say, hey, send only this client. We do a lot of paper $1 million plus as well, but and commercial and investors and things of that nature. But we are, from my standpoint, it's never been easier. We've had somebody manual underwrite 580 FICO, close on a $435,000 house. So that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. Nope. So for people to give up on purchasing a home, I think is crazy.
Yes.
And talk to somebody like Drew, talk to myself, or even anybody on our team out there. And home ownership is 1,000% a possibility.
Yeah.
1,000% a possibility. And it's easier today than it ever has been, no matter what the media is telling us.
Yes.
If the media is telling you listen, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but what they failed to say is it's harder now than it was because of interest rates. If you're doing a 20% conventional program, because of interest rates, debt, cost of house, but you don't have to do that.
Well, no, and also if you're comparing to where it was just before COVID.
Right.
I mean, houses were more affordable before they started jumping like crazy. And obviously, if you try to even compare to where rates were just a couple of years ago, I mean, everything's relative. But at the end of the day, no, you're right. I've had clients now that just even 5 years ago would have been next to impossible to actually get them into a home. And they're closing on homes, like a house in Asheville that a client of mine got. I thought there was no way because they were so tight on funds. But not only were we able to get, actually close it, they were able to get the down payment assistance. We were able to negotiate closing costs. I mean, they walked into it bringing like $1,200, I think, total to actually purchase that home. And the inspection costs, I mean, let's say they were total after all inspections and everything and appraisal, which was obviously refunded at closing, went towards their closing costs. I think total, they were maybe $2,200 to $2,300 with everything purchasing that. And, it's crazy to think I mean, it really is easier than ever if you have the right team actually walking you through it. And I think you nailed it right on the head too, because when we were talking, why do you think people believe that now? Why do you think people believe that I can't afford a home? 100%. It comes from the media. I mean, look at even just like the NAR stuff that's happening right now, what the media says compared to what it actually is. Everyone's like, oh, gone are the days of real estate commissions. Yeah, what are you talking about? That's not what that was about. And,
No.
and it's the same thing. It's like now, even not to get political, but even Joe Biden had said now commissions will be negotiable. They've always been negotiable.
Correct.
That has always been, and then also the DOJ and the White House's stance on this is now homes will become more affordable because of commissions. Again, commissions were always negotiable. And let's just say that buy side commission is not offered anymore by the seller and the listing agent. It's going to come off the price, sure, but we're talking about 3%, 2.5%, 3.5%, whatever it is.
I don't think it's more affordable for the buyer.
It's not more affordable for the buyer. So I'm even having this. I know we're getting into this.
No,
later.
let's do it.
So the conversation I had with a seller already. Well, I heard I don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission coming up. Should I wait? And it's one of those things. This is going to be based off what the market is saying. If it's a hot market, think of it this way: seller concessions. If we ask for seller concessions, a buyer wants to ask for seller concessions during a hot market where there's multiple offers, we're going to advise them not to do that because it's going to be a less attractive offer saying, hey, I want 10 grand in closing costs covered. So it's going to be similar during a hot market, saying, hey, I want the agent commission cover, or, at that point it'd be concessions, or they won't offer agent commission for a buyer, sure. But that also means when that seller sells their home and they go to buy a home, they're going to be paying that commission to purchase a home. So it's no matter what, let's say if they had a 5% commission was an average or a 6% or a 6.5%, whatever it may be. If they're only paying 2.5% to sell their home, they're going to pay about 2.5% to buy their next home. So it would have been 5% regardless. No matter what, that commission is going to be the same
Right.
coming out of their pocket one way or another.
Right. So NAR, I feel, kind of left the real estate agent, out to dry a little bit. And can you jump in? So you and I had a conversation about NAR and the whole settlement and just the way it's going to shake out. And I have my ideas, but educate everybody a little bit about what happened with NAR, because I don't know if the everyday consumer understands. They see the Biden administration coming out and Joe Biden himself, which I don't really think he knows what he's saying, but he's reading the teleprompter. Right. And again, not to get political, because I'm about building wealth through real estate, but when you have the White House coming out on national news stations saying housing prices are now going to be more affordable, that doesn't make sense to me from the buyer side. What it means, and like you said, commissions have always been negotiable. There's a few ways I see this shaking out, but I think that's more of the misinformation that is going into the market. And the other piece to it is it seems like we want to over-regulate industries because we think we can control people from an ethical standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we can. I think that the good rises and the bad gets flushed out in any market. But I believe what they're doing now is actually hurting the buyer. Yeah. That's my personal opinion on this, that this hurts the buyer. It definitely hurts the real estate agent, especially the part-time agent, which is okay in my opinion. Let's push them on the industry.
Weed it out, right?
Right. So jump in, give an overview on NAR, what happened, what was said, and what your thoughts are on the whole outcome. And it's not over yet. Yesterday, and I haven't had the chance to look into this. I know you probably haven't either, but Department of Justice now says that a new case can be open and X, Y, and Z. Like, first off, I think NAR is going to implode. I don't think it's going to be around soon.
Yeah.
So let's just dive into it. This is a topic.
There's a lot to unpack with this topic for sure, and honestly, this could be like it could almost be a series.
Right.
To get through it all. Now, the big thing is with the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit that was happening, where these homeowners were saying, well, it was unfair for us to pay a commission. We didn't realize we were paying the commission for a buyer's agent. A lot of things is it's our duty to make sure we're disclosing how commission structure was happening. At the end of all this, there were lawsuits, class action lawsuit and it was against real estate firms, against MLSs, against NAR itself, and we saw real estate companies starting to settle. Keller Williams, who I work for, settled, obviously. And so we're waiting for what NAR was going to do. All the realtors were just kind of watching them. And
Explain what NAR is.
NAR is the National Association of Realtors. So
Okay.
you can be a real estate agent and not a realtor. A realtor is an organization, a trade group that we're a part of, that we pay quite a bit of money to be a part of, and it gains us access to the MLS, the multiple listing service. We have to be a realtor to have access to the MLS. And most brokerages require you to be a realtor. And that's something that I feel is also going to change in the future now.
I
with
think
this.
that's going to blow up.
So, well, yeah. So NAR, who we spend thousands of dollars every single year, we were watching this thinking, okay, real estate companies that were named in the lawsuit are settling. NAR is going to wait till the real estate companies settle, and then they're going to do something. And they kept telling us, back when this all started, hey, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this, guys. We got this. And here we are in the middle, because not all the real estate companies have settled. And NAR just comes out and says, hey, we're settling for $418 million. And from what I understand, too, they weren't even the first ones to tell the public. They knew they were settling, but the New York Times, if I remember correctly, was the one that broke the story, and then NAR just scrambled to put it out there. Hey, we are settling, but here's what this means. So the public's first sight of this, and the realtors' first sight of this, the people of the organization, was from the news, and it blasted everywhere, and those clickbait. Thumbnails and article headlines of "Gone are the days of commissions."
Just
housing costs will go down. All these things, and it left so many people, the consumers, confused, and realtors pretty upset, because we got blindsided with it. Because again, they were saying, "Don't worry about this." Now, long story short, they're saying it's better for the real estate agents by doing this, and they're protecting everyone, every company and every individual broker that had less than $2 billion worth of sales in 2022. They're protecting them. Anyone that was over that, they couldn't protect those brokerages. They're saying because the other brokerages had settled before that.
I'm confused.
Yep.
So what I'm wondering, you're saying they're protecting everybody under $2 billion, anyone who had over $2 billion in sales, because other brokerages settled, they couldn't protect them.
Yeah, because they're saying that the attorneys and those involved in the lawsuit were saying, well, we want to go after those ones because we've already gotten those to settle. From this, my understanding on it is, since Keller Williams, for instance, settled, KW had done more than $2 billion. Okay. So they're looking at, I think it's the last one was Compass, I believe, that they just
got hit, right?
Yep. Anything that was over $2 billion, is they're saying, well, we couldn't protect them when we were coming up with the settlement in the negotiations with our settlement. At the end of all this, the thing that, a lot of us were upset about, though, was we knew that, the stories were being leaked, what was happening, and likely from the other side that, hey, this is happening, this happens. Stories and headlines have been leaked this whole time. Why NAR didn't come out and prepare a press release that, hey, we were doing this. Instead, it felt like it was a scramble as soon as New York Times had released the story. Like, oh, yeah, we're doing this, but it's for your benefit.
Can you explain to me what your thought process on how, because companies that did over $2 billion in sales settled, how that's protecting people under $2 billion? Because to me, it seems like these big companies that settled set a precedent that is going to allow every attorney, every ambulance chaser, as I like to call them, go after any real estate company that they want, whether you did multi-billion dollars or whether you did $1 million in
Right.
sales. How is that? I just don't understand, because typically when something goes into, like, say that with the Department of Justice, or something goes to, just say things are appealed up to the Supreme Court, so on and so forth, most courts look at what prior precedent was.
Mm-hmm.
Am I like a crazy person for thinking that's not protecting anybody?
So, yeah, I honestly, I don't have too much of an opinion on that.
Right.
I could definitely agree with it. The big thing is at the end of the day, I think it's also protecting the brand images, and then the agents that are underneath them to, let's just go back, business as usual. Obviously, there's going to be a huge industry change,
Right.
but let's not focus so much time on this. Let's get our side of it done so we can go back and actually just focus on selling real estate, because homes are going to sell forever. Nothing's going to change, just maybe how things are done. And we're talking about the little nuances along the way. Nothing huge is going to change. Like, again, so the whole commission lawsuit was because they believed all these companies were colluding, and MLSs were colluding to have the same commission that they were saying is this commission. We all set this, and we all have the same standard. However, again, everything has always been negotiable. At the end of the day, all of this, my biggest concern is how it's going to affect and impact buyers going forward, because the buyer agency representation started in the 90s when there was such a demand, because buyers were going directly to listing agents. What's a listing agent hired to do?
List the home.
List the home, get the seller the best deal possible. So how exactly, if you're a buyer, how exactly is it going to benefit you to go to the listing agent who was hired by the seller to get them the most money possible? How's it going to benefit you? No.
It's not.
It's not. And that's where buyer representation came in place. And this co-op commission structure was created where, a portion of the commission that was going to be given to a listing agent was given to a buyer's agent, saying, hey, bring your buyers. I'll give you part of my commission if you do. And now you're opening it up to thousands of buyer's agents who are working with 5, 8, 10 buyers. And it was a great structure where buyers are represented by buyer's agents that they hired that protect them. And buyer's agents, let's face it, are one of the best routes to get a transaction to the closing table. Because when you look at buyers going directly to listing agents, a lot of times they may feel, well, I'm getting beat up on negotiations. I'm not feeling as much as this is not a win-win anymore, and I don't know if I want to close on this. And now it's not only hurting the buyer, it's hurting the seller. So I know that was kind of a tangent on all this. However, again, I feel like a lot of the large companies that were settling were just trying to get to a point where it's like, hey, let's get this all taken care of. Let's focus on business, because the industry is likely going to change, and us sitting here with, our hands in our pockets, not doing anything, just wondering what's going to be the next thing, isn't going to benefit anybody.
No.
Let's get out there and keep doing what we do, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, and actually providing value to them.
Correct.
And in the long run of all this, it's going to weed out those who don't actually provide value. Those part-timers that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for friends and family to call them to sell or help them buy.
Which is almost a disservice to friends and family.
100%.
And I've talked about this numerous times. It's like, okay, friends, family, you're going to go to somebody who is maybe a school teacher, noble profession. We appreciate our school teachers, but also has a real estate license and isn't in the industry every single day. Where you see the value come in is when you work with somebody who is in the industry every single day, who knows the inner workings of your market. A couple of things I did want to touch on too. One, I agree 100%. Part-timers are gone.
Yep.
They aren't going to be able to, because they aren't going to be able to have the tough conversation and say, hey, this is why I deserve 3%, because I'm going to save you more than 3%.
Yes.
I'm going to
you nailed it.
Negotiate. Like, just think of inspection report comes back, right? And there's something on the inspection. Is a buyer who does this once every 7 to 11 years on average going to be, for a primary residence that is, going to be able to negotiate down the cost of the purchase price? Probably not.
Yep, they'll try. I mean, they're definitely going to try, but they're not going to be as trained in negotiations, and buyers are emotionally attached to a sale.
Right.
Sellers are logically attached to a sale. Buyers
Right.
agents are
Right.
the logical, sound advice for that buyer.
The other piece that I have a question on when it comes to this is, okay, so you mentioned, hey, can't sit around with our hands in our pockets. Be prepared. And one of the things that I'm coaching up our loan officers on is having conversations with realtors who aren't you. You're extremely confident on the topic. You have a plan of action, and we've talked about this. You understand that the commission was negotiable since day one,
Yep.
which is not what's being put out there. The commission's always been negotiable. Now, I have a theory that you don't want to negotiate down.
Right.
And if an agent's willing to do that, then you're working with a discount agent.
You got it.
I want to work with the person who knows their worth, right? And I don't negotiate my commission down. I don't negotiate real estate commission down or realtor commission down. A couple of things that I see happening from this. One, from a lender perspective, we need to be better partners, right? And we need to coach up our real estate agents. We need to coach up, hey, here's how we can do this. We need to kind of have a plan of action moving forward on how to communicate with the buyer. If people start going to lenders first, which I don't think it'll happen a lot, but I think it could increase people going to the lender first to get the approval and then going to find the house, because the way this is being pushed, to me, it almost says the buyer's agent didn't matter. And I think the buyer's agent does matter. I think the buyer's agent matters just as much as the listing agent, right? You mentioned it. You get the deal across the table, especially from the negotiation standpoint, communication standpoint with the other side. And that's important because lenders, we aren't supposed to communicate or negotiate anything with a listing agent. And if a listing agent calls me, I'll give bare minimum details. Yep, they're approved. They've been underwritten. That's it, though, because we could lose our license.
Yeah.
Right? So, my plan of action would be, if I'm a realtor, first and foremost, know your value, know what you provide, and be able to explain that to your buyer.
Yes.
Right? Also explain to them that, the seller can still cover the 3%. So what I see happening here is I see on MLS, you have the listing and it says the buyer agrees or the seller agrees to cover the 3% buy side, right? And if they don't agree to it, maybe less homes are being looked at because you, as a good buyer's agent, you educate your buyer on whether or not the seller side's willing to cover it, right? So that's one portion that I can see. Hey, if they don't cover this, you're responsible for the rest. And if they only cover 1%, you're responsible for 2%, and understand that. And here's the value you're getting for that 3% and why this is important and what I can do to help you. So I think if you're a listing agent, you also need to educate your seller that, hey, we want to pay that 3% because we want to open it up to more agents to bring their buyers here, because the good buyers agents are going to explain this to them. And if they still want to see the house, like, hey, they're only covering the 1%. If they still want to see the house, we're going to bring them to the house. But they may say, hey, I don't want to cover that 2%. Let's work with a seller that's willing to cover the full 6%.
Or
right?
they'll come off the cost with that. And
Right.
with that, real quick, too.
When you say they'll come off the cost, explain that.
Well, so a buyer will then say, okay, well, yeah, we'll take that percent or so. But then they're going to say, well, we're going to negotiate a better purchase price.
Right.
So they'll come down off the price. So somewhere
Right.
it's going to be adjusted. And to be very clear right now, though, part of the NAR settlement is that nothing can be said about cooperative commissions on the MLS. So you can't even put that the buyer's,
Right.
Buyer commission is willing to be, or the seller's willing to cover any portion. They can say seller will contribute concessions, and it's up to the buyer how that's obviously
So
used.
this is what I meant by that. So you're 100% correct on it. You can't put it on MLS, can't mention commission. You're telling me that a good buyer's agent isn't going to call a seller's agent?
100% that a good buyer's agent would, and that's again where
Right.
we're weeding things out, because it's funny is our job is answering phone calls and communicating. So many of those agents that are going to be weeded out
Right.
are terrified of picking up a phone.
Right, 100%. So now what happened with this NAR settlement is you've opened it up to a buyer's agent calling a listing agent and saying, hey, I want to show the house. is the seller willing to cover the 3%?
Right.
And if the answer is no, now you're going back to the buyer, and you have to explain that, because that is something. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, I don't know if the settlement had this portion, but you are allowed to ask the seller's agent that question,
Yes,
right?
yes. And as of right now, where we are with this is it can also be displayed on non-MLS platforms. So let's say the property has its own website, its own landing page,
Right.
or there is the company's internal system, like Keller Williams has the KWLS, the Keller Williams listing service.
So it can be in there.
It can be there, or Zillow or Realtor.com, but that's for right now. Because my theory is the minute we start doing that, then the DOJ will come back in and these attorneys say, well, you're doing the same thing again. And I also think what's going to happen too is NAR might even step in and say, if you're a part of the National Association of Realtors in an MLS, you pay those dues. You can't put the commission in any other platform, whatever it may be. That's my theory, at least. I don't think it's going to last forever. So when I'm talking, like when I'm working with other agents, like on my team, when we were role playing things, my thing is, don't expect cooperative commissions to be around long. I think that there'll be multiple rounds of this because this is a trial and error period now.
And it's already going.
It's already going. I'm getting people asking questions, sellers asking, buyers asking, what is this? And to that point, when mid-July comes, when these changes are going to take effect, what's going to happen is we'll have our first round of trial. And it's going to be, hey, we're offering cooperative compensation on these other platforms.
Explain what cooperative compensation is for the viewers.
So cooperative commission. So that's going to be, so let's say you're a buyer's agent. I'm a listing agent. I can't put it in the MLS anymore, which it is very transparent in the MLS. Hey, there's 2.5% buyer's agent commission that we're offering for this purchase, or a 3% or 3.5%, 5% if it's, whatever. And that's transparency. And I would argue it's better for everybody to be transparent. Very point blank right there. Now what they're saying is it can't be on the MLS. So you don't have that transparency now unless you're calling the agent, which is important anyways, or you're looking on these other platforms. I think that the cooperative commission that the listing agent splitting for the buyer's agent is going to be there at first. And then as we see, if it's all going to be market, it's all going to relate to the market. If the market is, hot, it's going to get to a point where, well, we already have buyers coming directly to listing agents. It's going to happen more and more because buyers may feel, well, if I am trying to get a commission for my buyer's agent, but my buyer's agent, we can't get it, then I think buyers are they would rather lock down that sale and get a home than worry about representation.
That's spot on.
So yeah, and we'll see is the structure of cooperative commissions dwindle away more and more and more, and there will be agents that can articulate their value through their value proposition. Here's what I do. Here's my track record. Here's how much I save buyers on average, showing their portfolio and what they can actually bring to the table and why they're worth whatever commission they're charging a buyer. And, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're going to look at homes. We may be able to negotiate concessions that could help cover a portion of my commission. However, we need to be clear that they are responsible for covering the difference or all of it at closing. But here's why you want to use me to help you buy a home. The agents that can't articulate that are going to go away. And, during a hot market, it's going to be more and more difficult to do that at all. During a slow market, you better believe sellers are going to start offering that, because as soon as one seller does it, another seller is going to have to do it to be competitive. If there's an active listing saying, hey, we'll offer $10,000, let's say, in seller concessions, and you have a comparable home and you're not offering that, and you're not going to get looked at.
This is so. the NAR settlement doesn't help buyers the way I'm seeing it.
No.
The other piece to it is it's opening up. It took away transparency, because if it's not there, and then you're not you personally, but buyer's agents calling listing agent, how do we know what that conversation is? Right? Like, so if you mentioned transparency, let's list it out.
Yeah.
Yes, this is negotiable. Let's list it out. Let's say this is what it is. There's the transparency. If it's not there and a buyer's agent's calling a listing agent, here's the other piece, and that I see as well, is now from a lender standpoint, we're going to have to, come July, it's going to, a buyer's commission is now going to be deemed a normal cost,
Yes.
right? So at that point, based on the way guidelines and such and compliance read, we should be able to add that in as a closing cost, which will increase the loan amount. But now you start running, you could increase the loan amount to cover it, but now you start running into the issue, well, if you're working with, how's this helping the first-time home buyer or the FHA or even like VA? Because if you're working it in and you are under contract for, say, $350,000, but you're doing a down payment assistance program, well, now you have to go. You're going to have to raise the price to cover the price of the home to cover the cost of the buyer's agent. So this doesn't help the buyer at all. And then on top of that, that's if they aren't agreeing, if the seller side is not agreeing. On top of that, now you have to hope and pray that the appraisal comes back by the commission difference, right? So you've put a buyer into a situation now where they need to, one, understand all of that. So now the realtor needs to really be able to explain themselves, explain their proposition value, explain, hey, here are our options. Here's what we can do. First and foremost, this is my cost. It's 3% of whatever the purchase price is. I will call every listing that we're going to look at to find out if they're offering that up. And if they aren't, you cover the difference. If you can't cover the difference, you got to come out of, or if you don't want to cover the difference, here's what our options are.
Yes.
We can try to negotiate this in. We can add it into the loan amount, talk to lender ABC. They can explain that to you. Make sure buyer's agents, make sure you have a good lender that can explain that and how that works. But again, I'm still not seeing where this helped the buyer.
No, it feels like we just took a step back.
It almost feels like we could slide back to what it was in the 80s before all of this came.
100% right.
The other thing, too, is with NAR is, you have essentially to be on MLS, you have to be part of NAR. I think that's going to get whacked.
Well, yeah, because so when we look at what benefits NAR has, the main one is the MLS platform. Right. Multiple listing service. I list a house at 123 Main Street on the MLS. It goes to every single home buyer platform.
Correct.
From Zillow to Realtor.com, Trulia, all the way down to the ones you never even heard of before. So let me ask you this. Where does Zillow get their money from?
I have no idea.
Selling buyer leads. They sell buyer leads to real estate agents. Now, if buyers and buyer commission is no longer a thing, that's no longer the normal, where do you think Zillow is going to get their money by listing these homes up for free if they're not making last I checked, almost 80% of their revenue comes from selling buyer leads to agents. So if they're not making their money on that, they got to make money somewhere. I think my theory, and again, I don't have a crystal ball, but my theory is they're going to start charging a fee to put your home on their platform. They're a business. They have to make money. If you lose over half your revenue source, you gotta come up with something. And if now listings and homes on your platform are the only avenue, I think they're going to charge a monthly cost or something along those lines, or a flat rate fee. You put your house at 123 Main Street on Zillow, it's going to cost this much. So if you put it on the MLS, is it going to go to those? No, it'd be free. I think there's going to be some market changes there on how the industry is going to work when it comes to marketing listings.
Then what happens to those costs? Because does the agent have to carry those costs, or does it slide back to the consumer?
Right. Well, and I think at the end of it all, it's both.
Right.
The agent's going to have to carry the cost. So let's say, let's just use an average. You get a listing at 6%, okay, as a buyer, as a listing agent, and you're saying I'm going to give 3% to the buyer's agent in today's market. And okay, so you're doing this for 3% listing agent, and the buyer's agent's doing their work for 3% of the transaction sale. Now, you go into the new normal. If Zillow is going to charge, or all these platforms are going to charge, more costs are accruing on the listing agent, well, they're going to list the home and say, for that 3%, that same 3% that they were saying I'd split with the buyer's agent, I'll only do it for half now. No, they're going to say, well, I need to do it for 4.5, let's say, total. I'm not giving a buyer's agent compensation on this. It's only my commission, but my marketing costs are going up. I have to do more work because of these changes. I have to do this at 4.5%. So is there a whole lot of room being saved for the seller? We're now talking about 1.5, maybe 2% total. So on a $500,000 house, let's say, that's a healthy sale, right?
Right.
That's $10,000 or less. On a $300,000 house, like what most first-time home buyers are in that range, we're talking about $6,000 or less that is being saved for the seller. Is it really benefiting the seller that much? No. Exactly.
It's not. The other piece that you're looking at is it's a slide into, not only is it hurting the buyer, it's probably now going to hurt the seller as well.
Yeah.
Based on what you just went over. It is, I don't see, I've looked at this from many different angles. I've listened to a bunch of other podcasts, top producing agents, top producing mortgage people, the minds of the industry. I have listened to all of it because it's been out there for about a month now.
Yeah. Middle of March.
Right. And people have been talking about it since before then. And I've been following, and this is the first time I'm talking about it really on this podcast. And I gave you a heads up like, hey, I want to talk about this because it had come up in the conversation that we had because I wanted to get my head around it and look at it from every single angle.
Yeah.
And every angle I look at it from, yes, it might have helped a little bit on this piece, but the risk, the whole risk of this thing, there's not like, it creates more risk for both. It creates more risk not to help the seller or the buyer from every angle I look at. And the other piece I'm a little bit confused about, not even just in this settlement, but it feels like the government is also coming down on this and very supportive of this. And have they come out and said this? Pretty much. Now it's going to make it more affordable for buyers. Well, that to me is a career politicians who don't understand essentially capitalism. How come they're coming after the real estate market? Granted, I get it. It just doesn't make sense. So real estate agents, if you look at commission-based jobs, real estate agents' commission, the percentage commission that they receive is lower than pretty much every other commission-based job. So to me, this is almost like an attack on capitalism because you're regulating an industry even more that's already from a percentage standpoint making much industry standard. A lot of places is 10% commission on what it is that you're selling, right? So why are you coming after this industry? Why are you coming after, and again, this could go to people wanting to talk about conspiracy theories. I have no proof that this is actually what's happening, but this is what it feels like. But I also think it's self-inflicted because why settle? I get it. You got $2 billion and it costs you less to write a check. But at what point do these big companies and NAR stand up and say, hey, we're not settling. We're going to drive and push forward for the rights of the realtor.
Right.
Because the realtor and if you're protecting the realtor, you're protecting the consumer who's buying and selling as well. So at what point is it less about the money and more about the right thing to do? Keller Williams, you work there. $1 billion company. NAR, $1 billion company. Compass, $1 billion company. Yeah. You're telling me you don't have a team of lawyers who can stand up and do the right thing? We're just going to settle? Let it play out in the court of law. And then if the court of law, they say, oh, well, you were wrong here, But I'm pretty sure you can back up the fact that commissions have been negotiable since the last time the law changed.
Well, that's always been the case. However, and that's why we looked at this when the lawsuit first came out. I was like, well, this is a nothing burger. There's no way that this is going to go anywhere because of that fact. Commissions have always been negotiable.
Yeah.
And here we are. And as for what one of NAR's things that they said in their statement was one of the reasons they settled was because, going forward, if things, progress, they could be looking at Chapter 11 and it wouldn't be good for their people. I can argue where they allocate their funds is probably not the best line of business. However, my biggest thing is I keep up with the industry. I keep up with what's happening. My focus at the end of the day is helping buyers build wealth and helping sellers get the best deal possible for that asset that they have lived in. They're what's likely the largest investment they'll ever own. But you're right. I mean, all of this has been, is it better for anybody? No. I don't see it as benefiting anyone except for the agents that are going to adapt and constantly hammer out their skills. Us as realtors or real estate agents that stick with this and can adapt, I see us making the most money we've ever
You're
ever
going to
been able
gobble
to.
up market share.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be buyers coming directly to you that own homes that need those homes listed, and you're the first person that they're gonna have contact with. Because here's the thing: you look at this is how many sellers just hire the first agent they talk to. A lot of sellers will talk to a couple agents, right? How many buyers hire the first agent they talk to? Almost every one of them.
Right.
If you're the first point of contact, they're going with you. Now, buyers agents have to prove their value. Well, sellers, listing agents, we already do that. When you have an open house, open houses are going to become popular, very popular again. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. Those people coming in there that own homes, that are looking for a new home, that talk to you, they're going to end up working with you to sell their home. So agents that stick through it can adapt to the changes. There's unlimited potential in what you can do. And to answer that, what you said with you don't really play into conspiracy theories. However, I also believe real estate is one of the last free enterprises. You can make however much money you want by how much work you put into it, right? And now it seems as though it's like, whoa, we need to pump the brakes. There needs to be regulations on what you can make.
Right.
And with that being said, I agree. I mean, that's exactly how it feels, as if the government's saying, whoa, you guys
are making
too much money over there. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, though, total real estate agents that are making that tremendous amount of money, there's only a handful.
That's a handful.
It's a handful. So the majority, like a huge portion of the real estate industry is part-timers.
I'm a big capitalist. I'm just finished Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged for the second time. And it's the second most influential book in the United States behind the Bible, right? And to me, this feels like a shot at capitalism. But I don't think it's like a coordinated effort at capitalism.
Right.
I think it is, to me, it's lawyers saw an opportunity to make a bunch of money, and then billion-dollar companies decided to settle because can't declare Chapter 11. Mm-hmm. And now it's going to create room for more regulation, which is another shot at capitalism. And it just goes back to that video of what's his name, Schwab there, the global economics guy.
Charles Schwab.
Not Charles.
Not Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab's the
yeah, not Schwab, but the big you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
You will own nothing.
The World
and be
Economic
happy.
Forum.
Yes. And they literally said that
bugs
on video, and I never thought, like, this is the first time this thought crossed my mind, but when we're talking about how it's a shot at free enterprise, it's a shot at free enterprise. Like, there's no other way to say it, because at the end of the day, and here for the buyers, the sellers, anybody who's involved in the real estate transaction, essentially what has happened is there's been this big settlement and there's all this stuff coming out, and they're saying, yes, we can no longer list, we can't be transparent about what the buyer and seller are willing to pay. This is negotiable, blah, 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 blah. But what they're saying is, you as a buyer or you as a seller weren't smart enough to dig into your transaction to make sure that you were making the best decision for yourself.
So let the government step in, and we're going to do it for you and protect you.
Right. And whenever that happens, it's not good.
Yeah, there hasn't been a history of that or anything, so
it's not good. And it just, to me, if I'm a buyer, seller, consumer, even if I was putting myself out in the job market, which I'm not doing because, we own this business and stuff, but when I was in the job market and looking to change careers, I always wanted to be the one who would negotiate down my salary so I would get more commission. Or if I'm going to, we're going to get into the investment through real estate here in a second, but I own properties, and Mike owns some with me, and Ben owns some with me. And, I always like knowing exactly what the cost of my transaction is. So I don't want somebody dictating that to me, because if you're worth 5%, I want to pay you 5%.
Yeah.
We work with contractors at times. I worked with a contractor down on the property I own in Texas, and I told them, so the way I draw up the contract is, so I draw up the contract, I have them list out line item by line item by line item, all the way down to the screws, nuts, bolts, nails, whatever. Transparency. So they list that out, and then I ask them, I say, give me a date that you can finish this project by. Mm-hmm. And so they give me the date, and I said, okay, so you are sure about that date? And they say yes. So I say to them, okay, perfect. So if you can finish by that date, I'll give you a 5% bonus on this.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah, they got an incentive. I said, oh, so you like it? Okay, great. But if you don't, then I deduct 5% from it.
Ooh,
so the ones who know that they're going to finish by the date never had an issue with them, and they've always finished by the date. The ones who don't want to go forward with it, I don't hire them.
No.
And so what I'm getting at is, I want the opportunity to pay you more if you're worth more. And if you're hitting my deadlines, or you're getting me into a home, or you're negotiating the price down, or you're negotiating seller credits, or whatever it is, bad inspection comes back, appraisal comes in low, a million things could happen.
And will happen.
I want to know that I have a dog on my side.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, that's what I want. And that's what we try to be. That's what we are here at NBI. Like when it comes to mortgage, no one does it better. But the same concept of with me, with the contractor, and can you get this done? If you get it done by this date, this is what I'm going to do for you, so on and so forth. And I try to explain that to people. I try to teach it to them. Do this. And if they're not willing to commit to that, even 4 or 5% one way or the other, then they're not your guy.
No.
Go find your guy or your gal, whoever, right? So it feels like that was taken out.
Yes.
That's no longer a possibility. Now, a good agent can present it and show their value. Mm-hmm. But I think what's going to happen in the very beginning, about the buyers are going to be like, or the seller's going to be like, oh, we don't have to pay this. I'm not going to.
Exactly. It's going to happen.
Because a lot of bad listing agents.
Because again, to your point, listing agents just taking it, I'll cut this commission down, so just to get the listing. Because also think about this, all these buyers agents that want to stay in real estate are going to pivot to listings. So listings are going to become even more competitive. So as a realtor now, it's so important. You're honing in on your skills. You're working on word tracks and scripts so you can be able to articulate and have conversations with these clients. And then also you have a great listing presentation. You actually show your worth, because forever we've talked about the 3 Ps. The average listing agent puts it on the MLS, which might be gone, puts it on the MLS, puts a sign in the yard, and praise to God someone sells the house for them. And we always, like Kennedy Homes of the Carolinas, the team I'm on, PJ Kennedy preaches it, that we proactively prospect. It's amazing what happens when you pick up the phone and actually call people. When you call people in the neighborhood, you door knock, you say, hey, we're listing 123 Main Street down the road. Who do you know that wants to live in this neighborhood? Maybe you have a friend, family member, someone at church, work, whatever it may be, that has visited and wants to be here. And it's amazing how many homes you can actually double end that commission or represent both sides, because you found the buyer and helped your seller actually sell the home in a timely manner, rather than just putting it out there and hope to God someone sells it. That's what's going to happen is all these agents, I'll cut my commission, I'll sell that for you, but then they don't actually produce.
But they don't do anything.
They slap that sign in the yard and say, well, I'm going to do drone pictures and video and photos. And okay, everyone does that. What are you going to do that's actually going to separate yourself from everyone else? And Yeah, and to that point too, sellers that I've talked to in the past, they say, Drew, I want to net this. I don't care how you do it. I just want to net this. Those sellers have a very logical thought process on this. And it's like, cool, let me go to work for you. I will produce that net for you. And here's how we'll do it. But I'm going to produce that for you.
I think that the person who is having that thought process and wants to produce net, it's going to kind of lead us into our next topic, because there's somebody that you want to work with, and then they know that, hey, this is a wealth building tool.
Yes.
Yes, I live here. This is a wealth building tool. You as a listing agent, you now know, you as a listing agent, first off, to go and PJ and knocking on doors and doing that and actively prospecting. The house in Texas I have now put up as a room rental. Mm-hmm. We had an agent, and I won't call her out by name, but I really want to, who had this great presentation for us. And I interviewed 3 different agents because we're pretty far away. And she did a great job of handling, hey, they need to come in and paint, they need to do this, they need to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And she did a great job of coordinating and handling that after I did that negotiation piece I was telling you about, as far as the 5% bonus or not bonus. But what didn't happen was, I don't think that home was marketed correctly because it didn't sell, and it was set at a price point where it should have sold. It was below market value, or at least we should have had some offers. Yeah. We didn't even have viewings. How do you not have we had like maybe 4 or 5, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. So I started asking, so what have you done? Oh, I sent an email blast. Oh, I did this. I did that. But you're on Zillow. Yeah. You're on Realtor.com. You're on this. Did you actively pick up the phone and call somebody who might be an investor and wants a good deal? Did you actively knock on all the neighbors' houses and ask them if they know anybody who wants to live in the neighborhood?
Or go directly to agents that handle large investment portfolios. Right. Go into them. Hey, I have this property over here. Right. 1, 2, 3 Perfect Street. Great investment potential. What investors do you have right now that are just chomping at the bit for a deal like this?
And it was a deal. I'm talking about $40,000 below what the value was, and the reason for it is because I assumed a mortgage from somebody who was going through foreclosure. They were in pre-foreclosure. It hadn't really gone to foreclosure yet. I knew them through somebody. It came to me. We got it at a steal. Owed $150. We were trying to sell it for $220. Pretty good profit. Yeah. It was probably worth, once fixed up, which it is now, probably closer to $250 to $270, somewhere in that range, just depending on how what time of year.
That's a great price point.
Right. So I'm like, okay, this is in Texas. Let me just take this cash and run. Yeah. And then somebody else can get it as their investment property, because I want to do more stuff in the Carolinas, drive to whatever. Yeah. Sits on the market. I talked to her for the first time at the end of November. We had to get some stuff done. This was my favorite. So she goes and first week of January, she puts the house on the market. Mm-hmm. Well, there's an ice storm the first week of January. Why would you have it go live when there's a storm coming? Like, the storm didn't just like appear out of nowhere. And so when I said something to her, I actually saved the text messages, because I was thinking about like putting it on social media and like blacking out the name or whatever and seeing what people thought. Yep. So why would you put, as a listing agent, a listing of yours live the same weekend that there's an ice storm?
Well, yeah, because you have obviously the general market timing, spring, fall, winter, summer, right. But you also have things that happen weekly. Right. You can see, like, and for that point, if there's who's going to come see it?
Nobody.
Because you have the first 2 weeks is the most important for any listing. The first 2 weeks is imperative.
Well, she blew it.
You need like we always say, if you have 10 showings and an offer, we priced it right, or we marketed it right, whatever. If we have 10 showings, no offer, that means we marketed it right. It's just not priced correctly. If we don't have the showings, it's either price or condition or marketing. Condition and price, I think, go hand in hand. Right. So it's price or marketing. And it sounds like I don't know that market, but to be in that kind of a price point, that's a first-time investor price point if I've ever heard one.
Right.
I mean, that's an easy buy.
The market is a little bit slower than it is here. So instead of, here we're typically everything's off the market within 21 days.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah, it's fast. It's a smaller community. It's not the booming part of Texas, but it should be off within 60 days, right? After 30 days, we had 3 showings. Let me tell you about the first 2 weeks. So it goes live the weekend of the ice storm.
Perfect.
So on that Sunday, she decides to have an open house.
During the ice storm?
Like so the ice storm
Or is
ended
it
on
over?
like a Wednesday, on a Saturday. And so on the Sunday, she decides to have the open house. So Texas is usually warm for the most part. In this area, they don't have insulated pipes. So nothing bad happened.
Okay.
But
all right.
post ice storm, I thought about this. So she goes to the house on Sunday and she calls me, who's in the Carolinas, and she said, the heat's not on. I said, what are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, I think the gas is off. And I said to her, listen, when we gave you this project back in November to help us with, the reason we hired you is because you said that you were going to be our eyes and our ears on the ground because we're not there.
Yep.
And I am finding out the second week of January or the first week of January that it was the weekend after January 1st. So that we don't have the gas on. And then she's like, the water isn't on either. Okay, so that's a drop in the ball on our end because we should have changed utilities. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But don't you think your agent would like give you a heads up that has been there to see the property, who's been there with the workers? It gets even better.
Oh.
We got a fine from the city because the workers went and turned the water on themselves and broke the meter.
Yeah.
So
Okay, good.
yeah. So
How much was that?
well, we ended up getting it thrown out because I said it wasn't us. So I'm not supposed to go to Texas. I was supposed to get this property. The property was supposed to be done. This has been fun. I mean, we're going to make a great profit and it's going to do well. But the property was supposed to be done last July. We had a business partner in Texas who's an hour away who found the property for us, and he took percent ownership in the property, and it was going to be a long-term rental, but then it didn't get done. So then we were going to go and sell it. Mm-hmm. Then we had an incompetent listing agent. And again, she did a good job of like coordinating people to come in to do the work, but she did not do a good job of marketing. Definitely not pricing. She told us to list the property at $300,000.
Oh,
well, yeah, and we had it at I think we started at $229, dropped it to $219.
usually it's the other way.
and
with
had
agents.
no offers. Yeah, it was wild. But so that happened. So this was not going well, and been dealing with it since last June, and it's finally supposed to be this week where it's fully furnished room rental traveling nurses, which is a huge market for traveling nurses because there's 3 hospitals. But man alive, so the heat wasn't on. So she then brings to the open house space heaters, and it's freezing cold. Like I'm talking like it's 27 degrees. Inside the house is 46 degrees, but she decides to keep the open house on.
Oh.
Nobody came. Nobody came to the open
No
house.
one's gonna come. Yeah, Texas. No one's gonna go out in the cold, anyways.
Like, but my whole thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and this is a story for building wealth through real estate because sometimes you have to push through stuff and you're going to make mistakes in the beginning.
You
And,
definitely learn.
right. This is the first property I've had that's been a distance, and it's the first time hiring an agent that I was trying to get to coordinate everything. And I think we got duped by the presentation a little bit because it was a great presentation, but the overpromise under deliver happened. So, with that being said, if you were going to list a home for sale, do you check the weather report before listing?
There's a lot of things we do check. So we did actually list a house for sale up in near Henderson. It was Hendersonville, North Carolina.
love
So
Hendersonville.
love that town. Beautiful little mountain town, awesome downtown area. Like it's great. Close to Asheville, much more affordable than Asheville.
Right.
We were listing a house in September, I believe it was, near the Apple Festival. Nice. And the Hendersonville Apple Festival is enormous. They shut the entire downtown area down. There are thousands and thousands of people packed into downtown. And they got vendors out, a bunch of apple farmers. Because if you drive around Hendersonville, it's nothing but apple orchards. So they're doing, apple cider slushies, apple cider donuts. I mean, like crazy
Those are my
stuff.
favorite.
Oh my God,
I'm fat at art too.
Yeah,
and
I
in
know.
person.
I maybe had one. And
maybe had one or 5.
You got people walking around with a giant turkey leg in their hand with their kids going on rides, and it's a fun time. It's a little carnival, right? We strategically listed the property to coming soon all week leading up to that, and then did open house Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for when the Apple Festival was going on, because we were off one of the main roads to get there. That was not the highway, one of the main back roads. And we had 64 people show up to our open house.
First off, talk about expanding your contacts, right?
Yeah.
Second off, genius, right? It's just, that's the difference between a good agent and not a good agent. Because if it was going to pour and they were going to move the Apple Festival, you probably would have pushed out the listing.
Yeah, we would have been like, let's hold off.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't a crazy person.
No, you want to look at everything that's going on, not just obviously the weather, because it was perfectly sunny then, and of course we were giving away Apple stuff. Sign in when you come into the home, and we're doing a giveaway of things, and a lot of it was Apple related. So we're looking at what's in the hyper local market, because people are moving to those areas for a reason,
right?
And a lot of them may have families, so
right.
they want to be immersed in the experience, and a lot of them are out of towners.
Right.
We want to immerse them in what Hendersonville, for that instance, was. Here's the Apple Festival. This is Hendersonville. This is exactly what this town is.
This is what
community
you're going
based.
to get.
This is what you're going to live here, and you're going to experience it right now, just at our open house, going to the Apple Festival. Whatever it may be, we're looking at those things that are happening. I went to an open house before I got into real estate, and it was genius. And the guy was with Sotheby's. I have no idea who the agent's his name was. I just remember seeing those big feather flags out, open house. And my wife and I went in there, and it was during it was NFL playoffs. It was on a Sunday, and I got there, and the guy had barbecue going on outside. You go inside, the big screen TV was on with the game. There was cooler of beer. They had wings and stuff, like, football food in there. And there was just a group of people watching the game at this open house that came for the open house and stayed. And I'm like, this is genius. Absolutely genius.
This is what you could be living by my house.
Exactly. Even some of the neighbors were over, and they're watching the game because he invited the neighbors and said, hey, we're doing a football game. We're going to do, food, everything. Come over. And those neighbors are talking to these prospective buyers. Oh yeah, the neighborhood's great. You're going to love this. Your kids can ride up and down on bikes. Oh, we watch the games all the time too. We got a projector screen downstairs. They're having conversations with these people, and those prospective buyers are like, wow, they're already feeling a part of the neighborhood. What better way to sell it than to enlist the neighborhood to help you do it?
And they also probably want to be there because they want to see the prospective buyers.
They want to choose their neighbor.
Yeah, they don't want Ted Bundy sitting next door to them.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. I mean, that's exactly right. So yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, so our real estate agent did not do that for us. She decided to have the open house in the middle of a nice storm.
I would have had
and
ice
shout out
skates
to you
out
if you're watching this. You know who I'm talking about. Love you. Not really.
Throw a little ice skating rink out front. Some ice skates.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ice skating. Here's some hot cocoa.
Frozen party.
Yes. So that's awesome. So you mentioned you work with a lot of investors.
Yes.
What are they? So to me, every home's an investment, right? Whether it's your primary, an investment property. And one of the things I have always preached, let's try to buy a primary residence first. If that's not an option for whatever reason, there's ways to get you into investment property first.
Yes.
But either way, you need to have some type of real estate holdings. I look at myself as not a financial advisor, but as a mortgage advisor, or somebody who is licensed to be able to show people how to make their mortgage work for them and how to show them how to build wealth through real estate, right? And I believe in diversification of real estate holdings, of assets in general, in wealth building. And I can't this is not a financial show. This is just our opinions. But like from a financial advice standpoint, I wouldn't tell somebody, hey, like, listen to my stock market stuff. But I would say when it comes to real estate, I talk to a lot of people like yourself, other realtors, other investors. We've had them on the show. I myself and my business partners are in real estate investment, own homes. And so what we try to do is we try to build a comprehensive real estate plan, buy a primary, then buy investment properties. Because if you zoom out throughout the history of the United States, home prices have constantly gone like this. Yes. And there's this weird narrative now, the only reason home prices are going up is because we printed more money. False. The reason home prices are going more up because there's shortage homes. So that's why they keep rising faster than what they normally do, because there is, across the entire United States, a shortage of homes.
I haven't noticed.
Inventory's not tight.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, when you talk to, first and foremost, what type of investor are you working with? Is it all different ones?
It's all different ones. I have to say personally, my favorite though, and bread and butter, have been first time investors.
Okay.
Especially ones that didn't know they were going to become investors. And they will be the first ones to tell you that they had no idea when we first started talking that, they told me a lot of times, I have a dream of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I just, don't think it's possible right now.
Right.
And we showed them routes to do it. And one client that you actually know, because you and I are working on a deal with them right now, came to me in 2018
Oh, wow.
to purchase a $21,000 lot.
Okay.
And I looked at his skills and expertise. I mean, he does great. He's a subcontractor for the Cliffs neighborhoods.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you know the Cliffs, they are not cheap. Those are very beautiful homes. I mean, the country club itself is $80,000 plus for the initiation fee. Like, it ain't a cheap neighborhood. And he does windows, doors, decks, siding, that kind of thing for the Cliffs. High skill level and attention to detail. So I'm like, wow, why do you want this lot? I want to put a double wide on it. And that's what, our first home's going to be, that we're going to, make an investment property. Thinking in a very, I liked it. It was logic, but I said, well, why aren't we looking for a house? We looked at what he could afford. So why don't we look at actually doing a live-in flip? Because his living situation was secured where he was right now. And I said, let's look at getting something and flip it. We found this home in the South Chase community in Fletcher, North Carolina, really close to Hendersonville, between Hendersonville and Arden and South Asheville. High demand neighborhood. We got the home for about $220,000, and it needed work. There are cobwebs everywhere. Drywall was damaged, carpet was gone. Windows were, and the orange colored paint job they put on it was hideous. Gustavo went in there and did all the work himself in just a couple months. Oh, I said his name. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, Gustavo, you're my boy. He did all the work, and in a couple months, that home is now worth $500,000.
jeez Louise.
And of course, market appreciation played into that, but that's great. That's generally what happens when you
Right.
hold a home. That was 2019 when we closed on that. Then we go, and he's like, I'm hungry for more.
I got to taste it.
Yep, you got to taste it if I want it. Well, that $21,000 lot we were looking at before, trying to find on Craigslist a for sale by owner of 2 lots for the same price, $21,000. 2 1-acre lots. We purchased them, and I said, here's what you're going to do. It's called land flipping. It's one of my favorite. It's low cost to do. These 2 1-acre lots, $21,000 total. We get septic permits on them. Perk them. That's it. Just septic permits. Clear out the underbrush, and let's just make sure the surveyor marks the boundaries, which they were. We negotiated the seller to do it. We just needed to pay for the center boundary between the 2 lots. Not a big deal. So, our surveying team, and then we also we took care of the septic permits. I helped him do it. He paid for them. I didn't. He paid for them, and then he had his guys go out there with machetes and clear all the underbrush to make these lots presentable, because wooded, and now you can walk around on these. We sold both of those lots for $80,000
a piece.
Well, total.
How much did you buy it?
21.
Dang.
And we probably, at the end of it, he probably put about $2,000 into it. So let's just say conservative figures, $25,000, sold them for $80,000. Then went to a double wide that was on an estate sale, got it for $100,000. Most people looking at it would be like, there's no way I'm touching this. It's a double wide too.
I need to get him on the podcast.
Yep. Yeah. And so we get this double wide because, again, Asheville is just bleeding for this affordable housing. It just doesn't exist. And double wides now are selling for, insane numbers. I sold one for $330,000 not long ago. So anyways, this one's in rural Fairview. However, proximity to Asheville's good. He gets it for $100,000. He went a little overboard because, again, he does the Cliffs neighborhood. He probably put about $30,000 too much into it, but he did $80,000 total into this.
So 180-ish.
180. and I sold it before we could even put it on the market for $285.
Wow. So
And-
he's turning profits of $50,000 to $80,000 to $90,000 on
And now
everything he
that
touches.
property that we're under contract with, should everything go through with the title issues, that's 2 homes for the price of 1. And our cost analysis on it is about $50,000 to put both of them to livable and marketable standard. We can rent those for at both about $2,000 each, arguably $25,000, but say conservative. Each one can rent for $2,000 a piece. Or we can sell them each for the price that he's purchasing it total. And then if everything goes well and we can get the one little section of the lot subdivided and the city of Hendersonville okays it, there's a potential spec involved on that. And we already had a builder look at it, got the cost analysis on that, and everything on that, the profit margin's about, after everything's said and done, about $150,000 to $170,000.
I love working with investors.
It's insane. And he started with trying to find a lot to put a double wide on. And here we are. And he's so hungry for more. Actually, he texted me yesterday and he's like, hey, while we're under contract with this house just popped up. I have cash that I can make a move on this.
Well, he doesn't even need cash.
And that's the other thing too.
Put it in
Like,
the
yeah,
business name.
there's
I got you, dog.
exactly. We can, there's
Gustavo,
so many
I can't
routes
wait
of
to
level.
talk to you.
There's so many leverage points. Like, yeah. And that's it. I mean, that's why it's important also to have a solid team, when it comes
Right.
to different loan options. What can we do? How can we leverage this? Because if he's going, I mean, again, the first purchase was 2019. It's 2024.
He's
We're only
killing it.
5 years in, and look how many we've made through. Like,
He's killing it.
insane. And that's a first-time investor.
It first off, I love first time investors because you can guide them. Like they don't already know, because sometimes when you run in, and I love working with experienced investors as well. I got a bunch of them, but
Yeah.
they'll get into their niche and that's all
Yes.
they want to do.
Yeah.
And they don't want to look at anything else. And I get it.
Yeah, I understand that.
But right now with the way we have inventory issues, he's done something different on all of it.
Yes.
And he's probably relied heavily on you as his, buyer's agent, which here's the value of buyer's agents, people.
You got it.
As his buyer's agent to walk him through, the land flip, everything that you've walked him
Yes.
through. And I was wondering, typically clients don't stay this calm when there's title issues. I understand why he's so calm now with the title issues. So again, showing your value. That's an awesome story. I love working with a first-time investor. I like working with first-time home buyers. And I also like the $1 million plus people.
Oh, yeah.
It's something a little different. I think that's the cool thing about being a realtor as well, is every single person has something different. So like when someone calls me up and says, hey, what can you do for this person? Well, it depends. Well, here's their profile. Well, I haven't talked to them yet, so I don't know what their goals, hopes, and dreams are, right? So once I talk to them, then we can put scenarios together, and then we can get them into a different structure, or different this, or we can advise them on investing, or we can help them with their fix and flip, or we can do their bridge money, or we can do their short-term renovation, or we can do their fix and hold, whatever it is we can do. But every single person has a different type of goal. They all want to make money,
Yeah.
but they have a different goal when it comes
A different
to real estate.
avenue to get there.
Absolutely. That's a great story. Any other cool stories you have about investing in real estate?
I mean, I have a few of them, but I mean, everything comes down to like my favorite and the one I want to lean into more than ever now is becoming the spec route. Again, we talk about the Asheville market. Charlotte's very similar.
Yep.
Affordability.
Raleigh as well.
Yeah, Raleigh. I mean, anywhere. I mean,
Charleston.
you name it. It's
Wilmington.
nationwide. Yeah, maybe with the
in the
exception of some of the rural Ohio areas that
Right,
I'm
right.
from. But at the end of the day, it's everywhere. And talking to my builder and I are meeting again here next week, sitting down and discussing this modest 1,400 square foot floor plan. And another investor, again, that has, he's a long-term running investor. He wants to do this development wise, just slap out these, affordable and, livable homes for renters who think I can't afford a home. 11, 12, 1,300 square foot, 1,400 square foot. These homes they're not cheap. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still $300,000, $400,000. But at the end of it, there's such a demand for them.
Right.
I mean, and I look at all these builders and they're not touching anything in that square footage. I looked at one this week and you know, they were 2,000 square foot for this ranch and the pricing on it was just insane. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why? You know, first time home buyers can't afford this. And even in their 1,700 square foot plan, first time home buyers can't afford it. So why not create something for one of the highest demand markets right now? And that's affordable housing. And everyone talks about
Do you
it.
think affordable housing it has a bad rep because of the connotation that goes with it?
Yes. Yes. And I mean truly affordable housing that is actually livable, good homes, you know, everything with you can actually have the American dream where, you know, that white picket fence,
Right.
you know, kids playing in the yard, you know, beautiful home that you can make your own. It's there. Maybe not in the centers of these cities,
Right.
but just on the outskirts, there is a possibility for this.
Agreed 100%. And the other piece too is like if you go back to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, right? Before there was two-parent households, or not before there's two-parent households, before there was two parents in each household working, that American dream is
Everywhere.
possible.
Yep.
And it's on the outskirts. It's in a house. And when we say affordable housing, we're not talking about Section 8 government funded
Right,
housing.
exactly.
We're talking about affordable for a home buyer who wants to go in there and start building wealth through real estate, gaining that equity. And I don't want everybody to just look at their primary residence as, oh, this is just an investment tool. No, this is the place that you're going to raise your family.
Yes.
And if it's 14, 15, 1,600 square feet and it's just outside of a booming town like Asheville and you're getting a little bit of land and you have that white picket fence and you can raise your kids in that property, that is the American dream. Now just we have to live within our means and budget and do all of that. But now you are truly building wealth. And here's the other piece. That home's gaining appreciation. So eventually you'll be able to sell it and upgrade if you want.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing. I tell people all the time, do not sell to rent. I don't care how much equity you have in your home. Do not sell to rent because you are going to lose money doing that. And I'm actually working with a guy who that happened to. And so when you are looking at just the possibility of owning and building that wealth and building that equity, it can be a stepping stone. It could be a forever home. And maybe you get into other rental properties and so on and so forth. Maybe you're the person who changes what the financial outlook for the future generations of your family are.
Exactly.
I mean, the number one way to build wealth in America is through real estate.
Generational wealth comes
Correct.
from real estate.
Correct. You got anything else for us?
That's why it takes a solid team
Correct.
with mortgage, with real estate. You need, I know the buyer's agent commission thing is going to be a thing for a long time, but at the end of the day, having a good buyer's agent is going to be absolutely necessary. And having a good mortgage team is going to be absolutely necessary because we're not just looking at, you want this home to live in it for now.
Right.
We're looking at the investment in the future. What can it sell for? What can we actually help you produce to get to your next one? And also making sure that, again, buyers can be emotional purchasers. Make sure you're not just buying above your means
Right.
because you're dreaming of that. So we're sound mind, logic, and we're going to help you build that portfolio. That's what it takes, a solid team.
Hell yeah. Drew, listen, I appreciate you having you coming on the show.
Absolutely.
You know, for everybody who hasn't done it yet, go ahead and bang the red subscribe button, turn on notifications, follow us at NBI Financial Group LLC across all of our social media platforms. You can find me, Nick Campo, at MTG Man Nick, Mortgage Man Nick, on all of my social media. Drew is sold.
Drew.sold.my.home.
There you go.
Yeah,
Got
Drew
it.
sold my home. And
Do it one more time with the little jingle that you just did.
Oh, yeah. 828-335-1772. You know what to do. You just pick up the phone and call Drew.
Hell yeah, call Drew. He knows how to. He's one of those agents that provide the value. He's going to be able to walk you through the new landscape post NAR. He's going to show you what his value proposition is. And you heard a story about one of our mutual clients here on the show. He's the guy. Go to him, Drew. Again, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
appreciate you. We're the Loan Guys. We're out. Peace.
Thank you.